All right. We get this one almost like clockwork several times a year. Should I take my medication for food and drink that have trace amounts of alcohol but are considered non-alcoholic?
No, no. I mean, I even today drink alcohol-free beers once in a while, and I don't take an naltrexone. Dr. Escapa explained it to me like this when I asked him about it. I said to him, I drink kombucha, I eat fermented food. Um, I do like once in a while an alcohol-free beer, alcohol-free wine, things like that. He said, Claudia, the average human produces so much alcohol in their stomach just by fermenting food, by breaking foods down, especially fruit, things like that, sugars. You produce alcohol every single day. So, no, you don't have to take an naltrexone. Now, there are a lot of people in recovery who say, well, I'm not going to eat that tiramisu because the lady fingers are literally soaked in rum. That, if you're going to have a massive piece of tiramisu that is soaked in rum that has not been cooked off, yeah, you might want to think twice about that because it might trigger you to want to drink.
But
But
again, that's probably, do you think that that is because of the alcohol content, or do you think that's because of the trigger of the taste?
I think it's. I'll be honest with you. I believe. I remember I was triggered by. This is funny. The bitters. I thought that it was safe for me to drink club soda with some bitters in it, and bitters has a lot of alcohol in it. I didn't realize how much was in it, and I would do a liberal shake of bitters into a big glass of club soda, and that was my alcohol-free drink. Well, it wasn't an alcohol-free drink, and bitters has a lot of alcohol in it. And that was, I could feel the alcohol hit my brain. And that's when I went, oh boy, this is not an alcohol-free beverage at all. So in that matter, you have to really look at the label. But if it's a 0.005 or whatever alcohol-free beers are, and they're labeled alcohol-free beverages, then I believe that's, in my opinion, safe to drink without a naltrexone. That's the whole point of it, is to mimic having a drink without having to take a naltrexone and having a drinking session. And that's an alcohol-free day. As far as sauces and things go, I have some hardcore people in my life who say that they won't even eat my beef bourguignon. And I'm like, please, I cook off the alcohol. I cook with wine. If I'm not taking a naltrexone and you're in AA and you're afraid of the alcohol, come on, there's no alcohol in it. When I cook off the wine. Absolutely, cook all the alcohol off. But that's just up to them, if they want to eat something that is made with wine or not. But as far as TSM goes, I do not believe that you need an naltrexone when something has a trace amount of alcohol, because you have that much alcohol in your stomach. That's according to Dr. Escapa, because I did ask him that question. Now, as far as kombucha goes, there are some hard kombuchas, so you have to be really careful and look at the label. Once again, if it's just the 0.005 or whatever it is, the negligible amount of alcohol, you should be safe. If it's fermented foods, you should be safe.
Yeah, don't know if you remember, but a few years ago when we were at a conference in San Diego, there was a gentleman that gave us a couple samples of breathalyzers. Mm-hmm. And so I brought mine home and just ran a few tests. Now, a breathalyzer, I didn't know until this point, you're supposed to consume what you consume, and then half an hour later, without having eaten or drank any more of it, that's when you test yourself to see what your blood alcohol level is. And so I had some kombucha that there's a local brewery here that partnered with somebody who was making fresh kombucha. So I had kombucha on tap. I had a pint. I waited the half hour. My reading on that breathalyzer, you want to take a guess? 0.0. So if it's going to come up as nothing on a breathalyzer, then that it's close enough to being alcohol free
Oh
because
yeah,
it's
I
not
blew
affecting you.
those alcohol-free IPAs. I blew just out of curiosity, and there was nothing. There's nothing. It's alcohol-free. It's a negligible amount of alcohol that they use in the process of creating it. But like I said, that's in your stomach. You already have that in your system.
And I don't have my notes in front of me, but I know when we were talking about this a little while back, how was it? Bananas have like three times, especially really ripe bananas,
Mm-hmm.
they have more alcohol in them than alcohol free beer.
Hasn't anybody ever seen the videos of monkeys and gorillas eating fermented fruit and getting hammered? That's yeah, rotten fruit.
Yeah. So, you know, go ahead and sum this one up well. And what would be any exceptions to that if you can
Okay.
come up with them?
Things
And audience, please, if you have any questions on this or any specific, comments, definitely
I
put them in the chat.
I would say that things like trifle, rum cake, tiramisu, flambe. There's a lot of desserts in Europe that are served with liqueur over them. Common sense, folks. That has alcohol in it, and they has a lot of alcohol. If you can smell the alcohol, and in baking, it doesn't necessarily cook off, and certainly not when you construct a dessert that's made with alcohol, because then you don't bake it at all. Constructing a dessert is like tiramisu and trifle has a ton of alcohol
How
in it.
about bananas Foster?
Bananas Foster, the alcohol is burnt off. You flambe it the way that I make it. You cook the rum and you cook off the alcohol. But once again, if you smell it and you can smell the alcohol, or if you take a little taste and you can taste the alcohol, don't eat it. Pass on it.
Or take the naltrexone ahead of time.
Well, I mean, now we're really, cutting edges. If you go to an Italian restaurant, there's going to be another dessert other than tiramisu to order. So you can have a bite of it, but if you take a bite and you go, wow, that's really strong, don't eat the rest of it. Give it to somebody else. Be safe. But as far as like eating beef bourguignon or coq au vin or anything like that, the wine is cooked off. Unless you have a really crummy cook in your house that doesn't bother doing it. Once again, common sense, folks. But if you're going to have a couple alcohol-free beers on a boat, you don't need to take a naltrexone.
Yeah. One of the other items that comes up, it hasn't come up in the comments yet, but how about things that are not cooked that have vanilla extract in them?
Once again, common sense. I mean, did they use a half a cup of vanilla extract? I use maximum a teaspoon, and it's for the entire dessert. So 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract spread out amongst a 12 serving dessert, I don't think is going to trigger anyone to want to drink. That's just my.
And I think people tend to forget about that. They look at the individual ingredient and say, oh my gosh, it's in there. But don't take the time to think about the fact that, as you said, those things get spread out over multiple servings. So by the time you get down to your individual serving, it's a negligible amount of alcohol.
I mean, I put vanilla extract in my homemade whipped cream, and it serves 4 to 6 people. Well, how much do I put in? A half a teaspoon? Am I allowed to have it? Yeah, I think I'm allowed to have a 30-second amount of a teaspoon of vanilla extract without relapsing into some crazy binge. So, but once again, use common sense. If you can smell alcohol and it's disturbing to you, pass on that piece of food or that drink.
And I think other people have in the past, although thankfully not recently, people have mentioned things like mouthwash that have alcohol in it. Can you talk about that a little bit?
I mean, once again, you're not drinking it, you're putting it in your mouth, but if it's going to trigger you because you can taste and feel that alcohol, but that feeling, they make mouthwashes that are alcohol free now. So buy the alcohol free one. Common sense. If you think it's going to make you want to have a drink because it reminds you of the feeling of vodka or whatever, Some mouthwashes, yeah, this is what people drink when they can't get alcohol. This is what people drink when they're withdrawing. Mouthwash, vanilla extract, but you're not supposed to drink those things. So if you grab your significant other's mouthwash and you take a sip of it and you use it and spit it out, you go, oh my God, that really, I can tell it has alcohol in it. There's only remnants in your mouth. It's okay. If you want to rinse with water now because you feel uncomfortable, okay, and then buy one without alcohol in it.
Yeah, I usually tell people if you can legally and without question give it to a 10-year-old, you're probably fine.
Yeah, but once again, you're not drinking it. You're not supposed to drink either of those items, vanilla extract or mouthwash.
So it looks like we've got some people who use alcohol-free mouthwash.
Yeah. Yeah, and also, by the way, ZQuil and NyQuil, I always buy the alcohol-free ones because I don't, what if I use NyQuil or ZQuil and I don't use those things very often or at all. But yeah, what if I take a big gulp of that? That has a lot of alcohol in it. So definitely look at medications. Cough syrup. People get loaded on cough syrup. So use common sense with that as well. Ask your doctor. My doctor prescribes me alcohol-free cough syrup if I get sick. I had it 2-3 years ago, and I got really sick coming back from overseas, and he's the guy who gave me finally the prescription for naltrexone 8 years ago or 9 years ago. So he also knows to prescribe me alcohol-free cough syrup so that I don't have to take a naltrexone when I'm taking my cough syrup.
And Helen says, when I was offered antabuse tablets, I was warned about mouthwash and alcohol-lined desserts. Now I can take them without any worries.
Exactly, yeah.
And Letitia asks, and this is a good question, do you think this particular question is asked frequently out of a fear of relapse or out of a fear of nullifying the effects of the medication by using it improperly, or a mix of both?
I think people are like I was in France when I was petrified that I had not drunk after taking the medication after 1 hour, and it had been 3.5 hours, and I was panic stricken. They're really, really hyper fastidious, and they should be. This is your life. If you think that banana flambe has raw rum in it, ask the host, and then if it's cooked off and you trust that person, okay. But you really have to do what's comfortable to you. I think people are petrified of relapsing. And for me, when I had that bitters and that club soda, it absolutely made me want to drink more. So I learned my lesson. And because I had not taken an naltrexone thinking this is an alcohol-free beverage. So yes, there's going to be anomalies. There's going to be bumps in the road. You're going to have to find out what works for you and what doesn't. But a cake that was baked with a teaspoon of vanilla in it, a cake that serves 16 people, you're going to be fine. Common sense.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that people are just so afraid of doing it wrong.
Yes, of course. And I totally understand that. And I'm not belittling your questions at all when it comes to, is alcohol in this dish? Can I eat beef bourguignon without taking a naltrexone? That's a very legitimate question.
Absolutely.
In all restaurants and in I would certainly hope home cooks, when you work with wine or any alcohol, like when I use cognac or something, I cook it off. I cook off the alcohol.
And if you're afraid of doing TSM wrong, it's better to ask.
Absolutely.
Than to just not ask and fret over it and work yourself into an anxiety and still not know the answer. So even if it is asked because somebody is afraid of doing it wrong, it's so much better to ask.
Yeah, and you can say to a waiter, this smells like alcohol. What is there a ton of alcohol in this dessert? And if he says, oh yeah, we make it with rum, send it back if you don't feel comfortable eating it. This is your life. It's your recovery. It's better to be fearful. I want you to be fearful. Because listen, non-compliance can lead to horrible, horrible relapses, as we know. So it's better to be a little bit scared, but just also, ask questions and do what you're comfortable with.
Well, especially because that fear comes from a place of it matters to you.
course
It matters that this works. It matters that you succeed. And that's a great place for fear to come from, because it's not the stop you in your tracks and immobilize you and keep you from doing something fear. It's that the good fear that is a motivator that pushes you to stay accountable to yourself, and that's how we're wired to learn and to do better and to improve. So, we do have one person out there, Classified, says, I've been doing TSM since the beginning of March and it's been awesome so far. Yay! We got a nice celebration out there. So it looks like we are done on questions about this. So we're going to go ahead and move on over and transition to question number 8.